How's everybody doing tonight? I'm Athletic Director Austin Leak. I'd like to welcome you to our annual preschool year student athlete safety meeting. First thing we're going to talk about is physicals. If our coaches have not received a physical from your kid, then we will not allow them to practice until they have it turned in. There will be absolutely no exceptions to this rule. As a Missouri high school, we strictly follow the Missouri State High School Activities Association guidelines. MISHA's guidelines regarding physicals states the first step in safe athletic participation should be a thorough pre-participation evaluation, also known as a PPE, by a physician who knows the athlete well. Each school shall require a physician's certificate stating that the individual is physically able to participate in their chosen activity or activities from each student participating in sports activities or spirit. This annual physical is a very important part of comprehensive medical care for a young athlete. It gives the pediatrician or family physician an opportunity to address general medical history, probe potential issues related to physical activity, including cardiovascular problems, as well as address sensitive issues such as drug or alcohol use with their young patient. In the event an athlete and their parents do not regularly attend a medical office, they have the option of obtaining a physical evaluation certificate from any physician. The medical certificate is valid from February 1st through the next school year. For example, if a physical is issued on February 1st of 2015, it is going to be valid through the 2015-2016 school year. A physician examining athletes in junior and senior high schools must use good judgment in deciding whether or not to restrict a student from competition. There are three major considerations for restricting persons from participation in athletics. The first one, is there an injury, illness, or condition which prevents the individual from competing fairly with normal persons? Number two, is there an injury, illness, or condition which might be aggravated by athletic competition? And number three, does this injury, illness, or condition place that athlete or another athlete at harm? Once a student has brought these physicals in to our coaches at Bowling Green, we make sure that the coaches check these following items which are listed on the physicals. First, we need to make sure they have their signature on the MISHA form, which is in the physical. Second, we need to make sure that the name of their insurance, the signature, and the policy number are on the physicals. And third, we want to make sure that they've read over and signed the concussion form that comes with the physicals. The next thing we're going to talk about is our accident reports. If a student athlete has received any sort of injury beyond a small cut or scratch, our coaches are required to immediately fill out an accident report. We believe this is important so that we make sure all parties are notified so that everyone can keep a watchful eye on this student and their injury. The accident forms will be kept in the workroom of the high school as well as the middle school, and I'll check in on those every single day. The third thing we're going to talk about is conditioning requirements. Each team must have 14 days of conditioning practice, and each individual must have participated in 14 school conditioning practices on 14 different days prior to the date of the first interscholastic contest in all sports. This requirement shall be met if a student has been a member of another school sports team immediately preceding the sports season, has been actively practicing with a sport team, has had 14 days of physical conditioning, and begins physical conditioning practice with the new sports team with no more than 7 calendar days having passed between the two sports between practice. MISHA regulations state that coaches and athletes can only count 6 practices in 1 week. This means that it will take 16 total days to get the required 14 practices accomplished. The fourth thing we're going to talk about is concussions. First thing, what is a concussion? A concussion is a brain injury caused by a blow to the head, face, or elsewhere on the body with a force transmitted to the head. Concussions can result from hitting a hard surface such as the ground or floor, from players colliding with each other, or from being hit by a ball, a bat, or other sporting equipment. A few facts about concussions. 1. A concussion is a serious brain injury. 2. Concussions can occur without loss of consciousness or other obvious signs. 3. Concussions can occur from blows to the body as well as the head. Number 4. Concussions can occur in any sport. Number 5. Athletes can still get a concussion even though they're wearing a helmet. And number 6. recognition, and proper response to concussions when they first occur can prevent further injury from happening or even death. All right, we have 9 signs and symptoms that we have our coaches look at when it comes to concussions. Starts with headache or pressure in the head. Then there's nausea or vomiting, balance problems or dizziness, double or blurry vision, sensitivity to light and or noise, feeling sluggish, hazy, foggy, or groggy, concentration or memory problems, confusion, sensation that does not feel right. All right, the fifth and final thing we're going to talk about is heat acclimation. It is important for your kids to get out in the summer and either do some work or at least do some conditioning out in the heat. Obviously, they want to make sure they're well hydrated while they do it, but it's important that they actually get out and do something in the heat in the summer. That way, the first day they show up to football practice, they're not completely overwhelmed. Their bodies aren't completely overwhelmed by the heat and what their body's being asked to do. The goal of the heat acclimatization period is to increase exercise heat tolerance and enhance the ability to exercise safely and effectively in warm and hot conditions. This period shall begin on the first day of practice or conditioning. All right, here's some limits and requirements within the heat acclimatization period. A, the first 5 days, only one practice may be held on each of the first 5 days of the heat acclimatization period. Further, one walkthrough may be held after a rest period or 1 or more hours. B, practice duration. Each individual practice shall last no more than 3 hours. Warm-up, stretching, and cool-down activities are included as part of the 3-hour practice time. Regardless of ambient temperatures, conditions, all conditioning and weight room activities must be considered part of practice. Note, days in which athletes do not practice due to a scheduled rest day, injury, or illness do not count toward the heat acclimatization period, nor do they count towards a conditioning practice. C, walkthrough limits. A walkthrough is not part of the 3-hour practice period, can last no more than 1 hour per day, and does not include conditioning or weight room activities. D, double practice days. 2 double practice days may not be held back to back. A double practice day must alternate with a single practice day or a rest day. On a double practice day, a single practice may not exceed 3 hours, and total hours of practice may not exceed 5 hours. A minimum of 1 hour of rest must be provided between the 2 practices. E, required rest day. If practice occurs on 6 consecutive days, participants shall have 1 day of complete rest. This means no conditioning, no practice, no walkthroughs. Therefore, 16 dates are required to complete the 14-day heat acclimatization period. All right, that's all I've got for you guys tonight. If you have any more questions, you feel free to email me or give me a call or text. I'll have my info up here on the front table. Have a good night.